everybody, it's Kristin and I have another 4 Looks 1 palette for you. So I know I just posted one not that long ago. I'm not sure exactly when you'll be seeing this, but I know I just posted one with the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. So if you have not seen that one, I will list that below for you. And if you're new to 4 Looks 1 palette, first of all, welcome. Second of all, this is a video series. I have well over 40 of these. And what I do is I take a particular palette, I go generally 4 days in a row and do 4 different looks and then come to you, explain to the how I created the look and give you a review of the palette at the end. So having said all that, let's go ahead and get started. The first palette, or not the first palette, the first look today in the Marc Jacobs Holiday palette, which looks like this if you've not seen this. I wanted to do a very kind of warm brown, kind of fall-like eye. So what I did was I took this shade right here. These don't have names or numbers, so you're just gonna have to work with me. I used this shade on the inner third and outer third and then across my crease. So I did a halo eye. And then this is in the middle third. I blended everything out with this really pretty warm shade right here. And then I used this on my brow bone. I also took that warm shade and this dark shade beneath my lower lash line, did the dark shade first, and then I took a real fluffy brush and blended it out with that warmer shade. Lastly, I used my liner brush kind of both between this matte black and this brown, and I lined my upper lash line with that, and then just lined my upper waterline with a black liner. I think that's everything for my eye, so let me zoom in. All right, so here's the look. For my cheeks today, I used the Lorac blush, and this is the one in Velvet Rope. That's what I used on my cheeks today. And for my lips, I have to say, you guys were right. I am really liking this. This is the Clinique. I'm not sure exactly what the line of it is called, but it's the one in Black Honey. All right, for my third look, I used this shade right here all over my lid. It's a really pretty white iridescent shade. I used this shade in the crease. And it's funny because when it was sitting on my desk, it looked a little more kind of mauve. And then now as I look at it, it looks a little more brown. But at any rate, that's what I used in my crease. It was very tricky to blend. It was not a good blending matte, if you know what I mean. And then I also used a little bit of this shade right here. I'm hoping you can tell. It's sometimes hard to tell on the viewfinder how shades are showing, but it's a pretty light pink, like a baby pink. And then in the outer corner, I used this really pretty eggplant, and that was a matte that blended beautifully. I find that interesting that I've kind of had that experience with some blending well and some not so much. And I think that's everything. I took that same eggplant sort of purpley shade beneath my lower lash line. So let me zoom you in. So here's the look. On my cheeks today, I used Hourglass's Mood Exposure, one of my favorites. For lip liner today, I have the Bare Minerals lip liner in mauve. I don't know if this is still around or not, but it's a retractable lip liner in mauve, also one of my favorites. I used Maybelline's Touch of Spice, and for some reason, I just was not liking that matte look of that. So over the top of that, I used the Bare Minerals Marvelous Moxie in Glamourista. All right, third look, I really wanted to use this like purpley gray, very interesting shade right here. So I have that shade all over my lid. I used this shade next to it right here as a transition. I laid that down first. It actually is a lot darker than you would think. It applies a lot darker, and I apologize for all the glare, but it is what it is with this little thing. So I have that in the crease, and like I said, it's a lot darker than, or in the, like I said, my transition. And it just appeared a lot darker. I used this shade right here to deepen things up. And then I used this shade again, this one right here, on my inner corner because I really enjoyed kind of the shift that it had. It kind of has that sort of purple shift. By the way, before I forget, yesterday, in case you're wondering what liner I was wearing, I've neglected to mention it. It's the Clio liner, so I've talked about these a bunch of times, and this is the one in Star Purple, so in case you were curious about that. Okay, so that's what's all over my lid, or all over my eye, and then I took kind of a combination of these two shades right here underneath my brow, and then I just used this shade, just this pink shade, to kind of blend out my brow bone area. So let me zoom you in. Here's the look. And I also took that, I'm looking so I don't poke myself in the eye, that original lid color beneath my lower lash line, and then kind of that really dark charcoal gray on the outer corner. For blush today, I have Illamasqua's Katie, and it looks really washed out, but hopefully, hopefully you can see. For highlight, I have the L'Oreal Lumi, True Match Lumi. It's this one right here in rose, so it looks like that. And on my lips today, I used the lip liner and lippy stick in Lumiere from ColourPop. And then, I don't know, the flat, because my face was so flat, which is a whole other story. I just didn't like that. I wanted to add a little bit of shine, so I added a little of Buxom White Russian. All right, so the fourth look ended up being just a tad more dramatic than I really intended it to be, but I really wanted to use that gold shade, so hopefully you can see that on my inner third. You will when I zoom in. So I used the gold shade on my inner third, and then I used this shade right here, which really comes off, through my throat there, which really comes off darker than it looks in pan. And then I deepened things up a little bit with this shade right here. And beneath my lower lash line, I used the same brown. In my crease to transition and beneath my lower lash line, I used this really warm transition shade right there. And then to blend everything out on my upper brow bone, I used that shade right there. So let me zoom you in. So here's the look. I do like how this one came together. I was a little bit iffy for a while. It was a little touch and go when I was trying it out. On my cheeks today, and I have to say, I actually feel like as I look at this in the viewfinder, and sometimes it's a little bit different, but yeah, in the mirror it looks a little bit better. I feel like I could probably use just a little bit more color, but this is one of my favorite kind of subtle blushes by MAC, and it's the In Dimension called At Dusk. I really like this one. And then on my lips today, I have the Kate from the newer collection. I'm not really sure what this is. Number 54, and it's just kind of a little peachy nude. All right, I added just a little bit more blush. I don't know, it just looks funny. All right, I'm going to do swatches for you now. I'm going to do them in rows of 4. So I'm going to turn it this way and go that way. All right, so this is a matte eggplant, a shimmer sort of peachy shade, the gold, and then a matte cream shade. All right, so there's the eggplant, which performs better than it looks in that swatch. The peachy, the gold, and then the matte brow bone shade. And then this is a matte deep charcoal. This is that brown with a little bit, it has glitter in it, but it does not show up on the eyes, I don't think. And then kind of a more champagne, and then that really warm brown transition color. So there's that. It's almost, you know, I call it charcoal, but there's a little more brown in it. The one that I'll show next to it is a little more charcoal. And then that brown with a little bit of glitter, that champagne shade, and then the warm brown transition shade. And that is matte. And it does, I have to say that that brown really shows up with the glitter in it in the swatch, but I don't see that. All right, so this is a really deep charcoal, almost black, that really pretty purple I wore on my eyes in the third look, I think it was. And this is a white, but it's very iridescent-y. It almost has a lavender shift to it on the eye. And this is kind of like MAC Arena. And that is matte. You can see those two shades together there. And that's the purple, that's that kind of iridescent-y white. And then this shade right here, Arena or maybe Bamboo. That's what that reminds me of. All right, so this is a black, kind of like that brown with the glitter in it. So really pretty transition shade here, very cool transition shade, and that is matte. Really pretty shimmery kind of bronzy taupe, and then a matte pink highlight. So there is that, the black with the glitter in it, that kind of cool dove gray sort of shade. Another, the pretty bronzy taupe, and then that white, or that, excuse me, that pink brow bone. And then the last row, this is another, it's warm, but it's not as warm as the one up on top. And that is matte. This is a nice, pretty sort of purpley sheen shimmer. This pink right here kind of has that glitter in it, but performs like a matte. And this is a really pretty, very pink iridescent-y shimmer shade. All right, so the shade is that matte brown, the kind of purpley taupe, pink with a little bit of glitter in it, and then that iridescent-y pink shade. So of the 20 shades, 9 of them are true mattes, and then 3 of them kind of have the sparkle, but the sparkle kind of goes away. Especially that brown, it reminds me of how NARS Galapagos performs, where there's a lot of glitter in it, but then when you apply it to your eye, you don't have that. The mattes are kind of hit and miss. Some of them perform better than others of the ones that I used. I'm not sure if I used all of them. It's kind of tricky with only 4 looks to have used all of the shades in here, but I think I remember talking about this one. I do think I said that this one was pretty tricky to blend, but this one blends really nicely right here. So they're just a little bit hit and miss. The shimmers and the other ones, the ones with a little bit of glitter in them, are just fine. I don't have any issues with those at all. I really like those. This gold is just crazy. By the way, all of these on my hand, I didn't go back into the palette, so it's just whatever was on my finger and one swipe. And I want you guys to see that. So you can see this one is a little bit disappointing as far as a swatch, and that's that eggplant one, but it blended very nicely on my eye. So it's, I don't know, it's just a little bit, it's a little bit, some of the shades are a little bit hit and miss. Overall, it's a very nice palette. Do I think it's worth $99, which is the cost of this? If you've not seen this, it is on Sephora's website. I'm not sure. I'm assuming Marc Jacobs' website as well. If they say, I don't know. I honestly haven't bought Marc Jacobs anywhere but Sephora. So I'll have everything linked that I can find below for you, or if there's another, another place you can buy it, I will list that as well. I liked them. As far as lasting power, I didn't see any sort of fade or crease on them until probably the 7.5. So somewhere between 7 and 8 hour mark, which is good for an eyeshadow. Not as long as I generally prefer them to last, depending on my day, but I think that's probably your average length is about 8 hours. So I was happy, happy with that. It does, let me just take this off. I had this on the mirror the whole time so that you guys can see. So there is a large, really nice mirror. This would be nice for travel. It is very slim, and I do think there's a lot of options in here. There are many, there are many looks. I wish that there was a true matte brown in here. There really isn't. And some of the shades you think might be a medium shade. If you look at this palette from a distance, I think you would think that this shade right here is sort of a medium brown. But that's what I have, on the outer corner before I deepened it up with this shade right here. And it goes on your eye a lot darker. And, let me just show you again. So there's that brown right there. And then, I don't know, when you apply it, it's just a lot darker than I would think. But I would prefer a more sort of neutral brown shade, not one that's so warm or one that's so cool. That's the only thing really that it has nice transition colors. I kind of wish it had a cooler brown transition too. There's 20 shades. You think I could be happy with what's in here, but it's a very nice palette. Do you have to have it? Absolutely not. This is not a must-have. It's a nice to have, but it's not a must-have. I do very much like it. I really wasn't going to buy it, and like I said, I stuck my little fingers in it. And aside from one trio, I don't have any Marc Jacobs shadows, so I really was kind of curious how, shadows in a palette like this for them would last and perform, because I love that trio. And it's very similar to that. I think that they seem to be one of the companies that when the holidays come out, they don't create a palette that's not as good as their regular line, as we know some other companies tend to do. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. On the rest of my face throughout the video, with the exception of today, I was wearing the Illamasqua Skin-Based Foundation. I just filmed a review on that yesterday, which is either up already or it's coming up. And I did not like it, and I was done doing it. So today I'm back to wearing the L'Oreal Pro Glow. But the other 3 looks, that's what I was wearing. As would be my luck, I ran out of the concealer I was using. So the first 2 days was the Bourjois concealer, the 123 CC concealer. The last 2 days is the MAC Pro Longwear. For bronzer, all 3 days I was wearing the Mary Kay bronzer in medium light. And for powder, all of the days, including today, I'm wearing the It Cosmetics Celebration Foundation Illumination. And I think the only, brows, I was wearing the It Cosmetics Brow Power, just the universal shade. I have the By Terry Hyaluronic powder underneath my eyes. And then for mascara, I was using the Burberry Bold Lash, I believe it's called. Yes, the Bold Lash mascara. I had to double check. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out my playlist of other 4 Looks 1 palettes I have done, I will make sure that I have that listed below for you. I hope you're having a great day, and in everything that you do, be beautiful. Bye.